So in Marine Corps officer training, SULE stands for Small Unit Leadership Exercise. So you're taking individual candidates and you're placing them in positions where they're going to experience a simulation of some of the characteristics of warfare. So that's friction, uncertainty, complexity, tempo, human dimension, and you're going to test their ability to make decisions in that environment that are going to affect other people. So it's a test of leadership, and it is a good evaluation before they're actually put in front of real people to do the real thing.
All right, mission, biggest part. So biggest thing is the 5 W's. I'm gonna read you guys this mission statement, and I want you guys to tell me, we'll go over each one. So on order, first platoon will destroy the enemy observation post located near the objective in order to prevent the enemy from interfering with the platoon assault on the objective. We are supporting effort.
Tell them up front to say, just to let you know, you're about to learn a foreign language. Okay, I will have Marines over to my house. I've been married to my beautiful wife now for 14 years. And we will have entire conversations in her presence and she has no idea what we said. And she is a CPA and she is an attorney and she is no dumb. Okay, you are learning. So this is one of those things. If you have a future in strategy, you have a future in defense, if you have a future in one of these worlds, it's worth to kind of, hey, get to know the lexicon. Pull Hunnold aside, pull Gunning aside, pull Bo aside. Hey, you ran us through a bunch of stuff yesterday. What's all that mean?
I'd be happy to tell you about the history of the NROTC Fellows Program. Professor Desch is an expert at networking, getting to know people, figuring out how he can work them into our programs. So we did this starting about 13 years ago. So long before there was a fellows program, we just would ask our students in our classes, hey, you want to go out and do this? And we started out much more informally than we have it now. We didn't have the formal briefings with the dinner the way we do now. And now it's a lot more focused on education. And every year we try and figure out some new tricks to throw into the puzzles that we have to face out in the field. And so, a while back we had one of the outbuildings near the castle and you weren't supposed to shoot any innocent people. But of course, people infiltrated, and then when they started shooting at you, it didn't really matter anymore. So that's a lesson, and we'll talk about lessons a little bit later.
Yes, I'm Gunnery Sergeant David McAllister. I'm a MECEP student here, Marine Enlisted Commissioning Education Program. So I'm on loan from the Marine Corps Fleet Operating Forces to earn a degree at Notre Dame. And once I earn my degree this spring, I'll return to the Marine Corps as a second lieutenant. I think out of the whole strategy, you're gonna find maybe 40–50% of the things that you intend to do are gonna work exactly how you expected. Then that other 50% is gonna be chaos. So that's just the nature of battle. There's a lot of chaos, disorder, friction. So some things are working great and then some things don't. And that goes to the terrain that we have out here. We have slippery, wet terrain. Communication's a problem. We have limited radios, so there's a communication piece that we're having to overcome. And then again, just paintballs flying over your head causes some internal chaos within yourself and just general disorder. I think the first group was successful bringing out the pilot. That's awesome. But you were taking heavy casualties. I think if you lost a couple more, that wasn't going to happen. But good job to that first team. Let's see, anybody from the second team, what kind of problems did you run into?
Well, once we found him, the person initially protecting him was taken out and he was just left alone. And I was looking around and there wasn't really anyone in the area, so I was like, okay, gotta step up. So went over to Professor Desch and we kind of surveyed the area, figured out where we are, and we tried to radio for support, but our radios weren't working. So I found one of my other teammates and gestured for her to come down, and she came down. And then there was a weird thing where I felt like I got shot, but I didn't see anything. So I was like, am I dead, am I not? I don't see paint, so I'm like, I guess I'm alive. And then Professor Desch was killed. And it was just, expectation is, you go in, you can bring in support, but the communications didn't work. I couldn't find anybody to gesture for visually, so it was just like me and him alone. I didn't know what to do, and then we were dead.
And I'd say it's hard to look for somebody that you don't know where they're at, right? I mean, you're going out there, you're trying to canvass a wide area, You might have a little bit of intelligence on they might be in a specific area, or maybe there's still comms like we had in this scenario. But if you're going to look for a needle in a haystack, that's a tough operation. So that's just another consideration you need to have before you send Marines or service members into a trap mission.
Now we tried something I thought was really one of our most successful ones this year, where you had to go into a village, patrol through a village where everybody had an AK-47 paintball gun. But you don't know. It could be a militant, it could be just a farmer, because that's what everybody has. And so how do you get through the village and figure out who the bad guys are?
So we were playing civilian, and the intent of this exercise we had here was that the force patrolling through had a rules of engagement they had to abide by. And that meant the civilians are allowed to have guns. So you can't just shoot everybody with a gun, but they were in a dangerous situation. So they were put in a predicament where I'm walking around with a gun, but there's somebody that's about to shoot at them at the same time. So it forced the patrolling unit to make some decisions on what to do with me. They ended up detaining me and taking my weapon away, which was the right answer. But it gets the brain going, especially as these people, the students of NDISC that are going to be involved and maybe participating in making the law or the decision to send people into harm's way, should understand the constraints that the people that are going into danger are put under. It's not always going to be this complicated, but it's never going to be black and white. So we just wanted them to get a little taste of it.
How do you think that the NDISC students handled this situation?
The first round, we ambushed them pretty bad. But the second round, I liked the aggression where they went up and they started to detain the individuals that were suspected because their security came first. So I thought that they learned from the first experience.
Yeah, so yesterday in our briefing we talked about different kinds of formations, and we did talk about friction, how stuff kind of falls apart once you get out there, and that was very true. I was in like the main offensive down the middle, and no one made it really through that first part. I think one person got past the first 5 minutes, so it fell apart like we thought it would.
Me and the team went up to the tower there, and we pushed up fine enough, but what we didn't expect was a couple people flanking us from behind. Perhaps we should have looked at our backs. Maybe with a little foresight I could have done something, but I couldn't see most things out there with how much fog was on my glasses.
I think part of what we're doing at SULE and in NDISC more generally is I think that we're the best civilian university in the country for undergraduate security education. And all of these programs, from the podcast, the seminars, to the trips, to the civil, military, and business etiquette classes, followed by a formal dinner, these are all things that are building up to our students being better than students from any other university in terms of being ready to deal with foreign policy and security issues. And that's our mission, is to do that, to have a wiser foreign policy, a more prudent foreign policy, and we're trying to get that across. And I've had 2 students go to Georgetown for masters and said they learned more here as undergrads than at Georgetown masters. That's a pretty nice thing to be able to say. And I don't think there's a single comparable program in the country that does what we do. And I have to thank Professor Desch for his leadership in this, and I have to thank our benefactors for their generosity. The stuff that we do is free to the students. We don't charge them anything. And so anybody from any background gets to benefit from our programs if they make it through the competitive process. It is a competitive program, but we want the best students, and that's not such a bad thing, because the students, one of the great benefits of the program is the students get to know each other. So they form sort of a cohorting process, and as we get a larger and larger alumni base, it's just going to be easier and easier to place people. And we're already, that's another thing that we're working on. We're on a first name basis with the chief CIA recruiter for the region. The people in career services here at Notre Dame know us very well. We often go to all the booths we can go to during recruiting events and whatnot, and we're there. We have a presence, we're known, and I think people in Washington are beginning to recognize that a pretty good product comes out of here. So thank you to everybody who's part of this.
I'd like to thank Kevin and Cynthia O'Brien, who are the supporters of the NDISC undergraduate program. This is one of the signature things that we do, but their generosity supports all sorts of things, including a big spring break trip to US Indo-PACOM in Honolulu. I'd like to thank my colleague Dan Lindley, who runs the undergraduate program. Would like to thank Captain Thompson, the CO of the Navy ROTC detachment, and Captain Hunold, who's the MOI, the Marine Officer Instructor. And finally, I want to thank Gunny Lund and Gunny McAllister, who are running the operation on the ground. Very grateful to all of them.